The sun beat down on the parched earth, baking the land a dusty brown. The air, thick with the scent of dust and livestock, carried a palpable tension. Jacob, his brow creased with worry, surveyed the bustling scene around him. He was a man transformed, weathered by years of hardship and uncertainty. Gone was the impetuous youth who had fled his brother's wrath. In his place stood a patriarch, his shoulders heavy with the weight of responsibility for his family and his past.
20 years, 20 long years had passed since I had last laid eyes upon my brother Esau. 20 years since I had fled from Canaan, a fugitive in my own right, carrying with me the weight of my deception. The memory of that fateful day, of the simmering rage in Esau's eyes, still has the power to stir a primal fear within me.
Now, after all this time, their paths were set to cross again. A messenger had arrived at Jacob's camp with news of Esau's approach, his arrival imminent. 400 men, the messenger had said. 400 men accompanied Esau. Was it a welcome party or a war party? Jacob's heart pounded in his chest. He had sent word ahead, a plea for peace. But what guarantee did he have that his brother had forgiven him? The memory of Esau, a formidable hunter with a ruddy complexion and a wild spirit, loomed large in Jacob's mind. He remembered their youthful rivalry, the simmering tension that had always existed between them. Esau, the firstborn, strong and impulsive. Jacob, the younger, clever and ambitious. Their paths had always diverged, their destinies seemingly written before their birth.
I had envied Esau's strength, his easy confidence. I had craved the birthright that seemed to come so naturally to my brother. And in a moment of desperation, driven by ambition and my mother's whispers, I had taken it. The memory of Esau's anguished cry upon discovering the deception still echoes in my ears.
Now, as he prepared to face his brother once more, Jacob was a man wrestling with his conscience. He had prospered in his exile, blessed with a large family and abundant flocks, but the shadow of his past, of his betrayal, hung heavy over him. He had wronged Esau, and he knew it. The uncertainty of their reunion gnawed at him, a constant knot of anxiety in his stomach. Jacob was a man of action, accustomed to taking charge. But in the face of this impending encounter, all his usual cunning seemed to desert him. He was left with a deep sense of unease, a primal fear that threatened to overwhelm him. He knew he had to act, to find a way to appease his brother's anger. He decided to send gifts ahead, a procession of servants, each leading a portion of his wealth towards Esau. Flocks of goats and sheep, herds of camels heavy with young, all intended as a peace offering.
If I can soften his heart with these gifts, perhaps he will show me mercy.
Each gift was carefully chosen, a tangible representation of Jacob's prosperity. But more than that, they were symbols of humility, of Jacob's acknowledgement of his past transgressions.
When Esau meets you, tell him these gifts are from your servant Jacob, a gift sent to my lord Esau. And be sure to tell him, your servant Jacob is coming behind us.
Jacob divided his family and possessions, sending them across the Jabbok River ahead of him. He remained behind, alone with his anxieties. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the land, Jacob finally caught sight of them in the distance. A cloud of dust rose from the approaching caravan, heralding their arrival. His heart pounded in his chest, a drumbeat of fear and anticipation. Squinting, he tried to discern the figures through the shimmering heat haze.
There at the head of the procession rode an imposing figure. Even from a distance, I recognized the broad shoulders and commanding presence of my brother.
Esau, it seemed, had prospered in the years since their last meeting. He was surrounded by his men, a formidable force that spoke of his power and influence. Fear, cold and sharp, gripped Jacob's heart. Had he miscalculated? Was this to be a reunion or a reckoning? The moment of truth was just ahead. Jacob bowed low to the ground, a gesture of respect and submission. He approached his brother cautiously, each step heavy with the weight of years of guilt and apprehension. He bowed again, then a third time, a physical manifestation of his remorse. Esau, his face unreadable, dismounted his horse and strode towards Jacob. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then, in a gesture that shattered the tension, Esau ran towards his brother. He embraced Jacob fiercely, the force of his emotion shaking them both. Tears, unashamed and heartfelt, streamed down Jacob's face. It was the embrace he had craved for so long, the tangible evidence of his brother's forgiveness. In that moment, the years of separation, the pain of betrayal, seemed to melt away. Tears streamed down Jacob's face, a mixture of relief and gratitude. Esau's expression is a mixture of forgiveness and brotherly affection. Esau pulled back, his hands gripping Jacob's shoulders. He studied his brother's face, his own features softening with emotion.
Is it really you, Jacob? After all these years?
Jacob, overcome with emotion, could only nod.
It is I, Esau. I have returned as I promised I would.
Esau gestured towards the procession of servants and livestock that followed behind Jacob.
What is all this? Whose are these flocks and herds that I met?
Jacob, humbled, bows his head in respect.
They are yours, brother. A gift, a token of my love and my remorse for the pain I have caused you. Please take them as a sign of my repentance.
He bowed his head, shame and humility washing over him. Esau hesitated for a moment, his gaze sweeping over the vast wealth before him. Then he shook his head, a slow smile spreading across his face.
I have enough, my brother. Keep what is yours. Your presence here is gift enough for me.
Relief washed over Jacob, as palpable as the desert heat. His brother had forgiven him. The weight of his past, a burden he had carried for so long, seemed to lift from his shoulders. He laughed, a sound of pure joy, and embraced Esau once more. The air, thick with tension just moments before, now buzzed with excitement and relief. The reunion of Jacob and Esau became a celebration. Tents were erected, fires were lit, and the aroma of roasting meat filled the air. The two families, once divided by rivalry and deception, now came together in a feast of reconciliation.
As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Jacob and Esau sat together, sharing stories of their years apart. I spoke of my wives, Leah and Rachel, and the children who had been born to me. I told of my flocks and herds, of the prosperity I'd found in a foreign land.
I, in turn, spoke of my own life in Seir, of my wives and children, of my hunting exploits and my growing influence. There was no trace of bitterness in my voice, only genuine interest and brotherly affection.
As the stars emerged in the velvet night sky, Jacob knew that he had finally come home, not to the land of Canaan, but to a place of peace within himself. The shadow of his past had been lifted, replaced by the light of forgiveness and reconciliation. He had faced his brother, confessed his sins, and found redemption in the warmth of Esau's embrace. The story of Jacob and Esau is more than just a tale of sibling rivalry and reconciliation. It is a powerful reminder of the importance of forgiveness, both for the giver and the receiver. Jacob, burdened by guilt and fear, found peace in Esau's forgiveness. And Esau, by releasing his anger and resentment, discovered a depth of love for his brother that he had never known before. The story also highlights the transformative power of repentance. Jacob's willingness to acknowledge his wrongdoing, to humble himself before his brother, paved the way for their reconciliation. His journey, fraught with anxiety and uncertainty, ultimately led him to a place of peace and redemption. This ancient narrative, passed down through generations, continues to resonate with us today. It speaks to the universal human experiences of rivalry, betrayal, forgiveness, and love. It reminds us that even in the darkest of times, hope and healing are possible when we choose to embrace forgiveness. The story of Jacob and Esau is not confined to the pages of the Bible. Its echoes can be felt in our own lives, in our relationships with siblings, friends, and loved ones. We have all experienced moments of conflict, times when misunderstandings and hurt feelings have created rifts between us and those we care about. Like Jacob, we may carry the weight of guilt and regret for past mistakes. We may fear confrontation, unsure of how to bridge the divide that separates us from those we have wronged. But the story of Jacob and Esau offers us hope. It reminds us that it is never too late to seek forgiveness, to mend broken relationships, and to find healing and reconciliation. Just as Jacob found the courage to face his brother, we too can find the strength to confront our fears and to take the first step towards reconciliation. It may not always be easy, but the rewards of forgiveness, both for ourselves and for those we love, are immeasurable. The story of Jacob and Esau is a timeless tale, a testament to the enduring power of forgiveness and the importance of family. It is a story that has been told and retold for centuries, passed down from generation to generation, its message as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. As we reflect on this ancient narrative, let us be inspired by the courage of Jacob, the forgiveness of Esau, and the transformative power of reconciliation. Let us strive to live our lives with open hearts and a willingness to forgive. knowing that in doing so we not only heal our relationships, but also find peace within ourselves. Share this story with your loved ones. Explore the book of Genesis. Discover the wealth of wisdom and insight that this ancient text has to offer, for in its pages we find not only stories of our past, but also guidance for our present and hope for our future. Please like and subscribe to help us grow and reach more people.